Ken Trenum's passionate about safety of people living in Summerside, especially worried when he hears about accidents between vehicles and commuters. And Ken's group, Safe Summerside, is asking for some help in making areas of the city even safer. He says some key information isn't being shared with the group. He'd like to see things change, saying that accident data would help his group lobby for safer streets by helping pinpoint areas that need attention. I talked with Ken about his concerns.
There's been so many collisions that have happened in the city, and we've had police data from 2019 to 2022, and we've seen the doubling of collisions between, say, cyclists and pedestrians and motor vehicles. So it's gone from 8 to 16. And then from it's December 2018 to December 2023. So in 5 years, we've had 4 pedestrian fatalities in the city. So it's extremely concerning, and if we're able to obtain detailed information, so like right now we know that the collisions are on the rise from 2019 to 2022, but is this just a glimpse, right? So if we could have some long-term data collection, so then we'd know, is collisions on the rise, or are they maintaining, or are they declining? This information just helps. Those 4 pedestrian deaths, they averaged an age of 69 years of age. So I think we just owe it to the older population and to the general population.
What are you hoping you can accomplish if you get this information?
Well, I think obtaining information is the first step, and then we can make determination on what could help. Understanding that really where the fatalities and collisions are happening. I mean, many times it's motor vehicles backing into a pedestrian, or pedestrians who are on crosswalks, or pedestrians who are on sidewalks. I mean, these are fatalities that have happened in Summerside for the elderly community. And if you're looking at ways that we can help and support, one avenue could be, so if we have more pedestrian friendly, more active transportation friendly, the education's a major piece. I personally, I'll never drive into a parking lot anymore. I'll always back into it because I can see more on my arrival. And when I depart, I can see who's in front of me. The number of collisions that happen in parking lots is the second major location in Summerside. The first is being intersections. At intersections, we're coming in at 59%. But parking lots in the city is 12 to 20% happen in parking lots. And so when you're tying all of this together, there's the street infrastructure, but also the education piece. If we can save one life and save one collision, oh my! And I believe we can do it if we have the data. If we have data that supports that collisions are where are they at currently. Things need to change.
You've been pretty successful, Ken, though, with some of your efforts. I mean, those bike lanes that are in Summerside right now are second to none.
Yes, and I think yes. Like I think Greenwood Drive, that's our first bike lane, and I know right now the city is looking at Pope Road, which is amazing. That's on tops of our priority list. It's there. It's a number one priority for us in the city, is having an active transportation lane on Pope Road, right? But I just think there's so much education. Like there's so much that can be helped with data. Data will help fuel. It should help fuel decision making, and saying what more can be done. Like what more can be done to protect the citizens from being hit. And we're really hoping that the city will say yes, that we agree that this is a need. We can tell you right now at this point the data what's the most dangerous intersection in the city. So with this information we can rank those intersections and say these are not only the intersections that are causing the most harm, but here are potential avenues to support and make infrastructure changes. And so
that's where the real money is, I guess, Ken, is in making those changes.
That's right. That's right. That's the real money. That's right. Yeah. But I think in terms of research is it's really a minimal piece in terms of that. It's just the data is already there. So we just have to collect that data and I guess educate people on what's happening, where it's happening, and how can we change that. And lots of it, the infrastructure, yes, but I think education is a major part. I think if people knew the amount of times that people are getting hit in parking lots and how just backing up, people who are able to back into a parking lot and drive away, that would reduce the collisions just by that simple piece of education.
Ken, I appreciate your time this morning. We're going to try to get some answers for you here.
All right. Thanks so much, Mitch. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Okay. You take care.
Oh, you too, bud.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Ken Trenham is with Safe Summerside, an advocacy group that advocates in part for safer streets in the city. JP DeRosier is the Deputy CEO of the City of Summerside, joins us on the phone now. Good morning, JP.
Good morning, Mitch.
I'm curious about how much data does the city keep on accidents within the City of Summerside?
I think our police services department does a pretty good job of obviously keeping track of incidents that occur throughout the city. On an ongoing basis, that information is tracked and stored and obviously communicated with in terms of our technical services department and our public works department if there's any areas of concern throughout the city related to that data.
It's not necessarily public information, though.
Most certainly. I mean, it's not outwardly pushed just because we really haven't had any real demand or reason to, but certainly if there's a request from a resident or a group for that type of information, we would.
I'm curious about Ken's request to have that information shared with Safe Summerside.
Yeah, so I believe Ken's request to have that shared with SAFE is more with regards to his annual community grant application, or the group's annual application. That was reviewed as part of our community grant process this year. SAFE was provided with some funding for some other initiatives in the city. I think when it came to the in-kind piece, I think it was more just looked at from we already sort of do this type of information share with this group or any other group. So there's really no need to apply an official in-kind value to it. It's on an as kind of request basis comes in. We provide the information when it's available and if it's available. And obviously we sort of do so. If it's police services, it tends to be more allocated on an available time basis. We don't want to take officers off the streets to gather this information. But at the same time, when police officers have time to do so, we certainly will share it.
And I'm curious about that data. As you say, it's shared with the technical staff in Summerside. And then how is it reviewed? What do you do with the information?
Well, it's reviewed sort of on an ongoing basis at the director's level within the city. So the police chief, our director of technical services, our director of public works, and our CAO, myself. When there's incidents that occur, we'll certainly review them. We have engineers that we will call in from a third-party perspective to review these incidents just to determine whether or not existing intersections need to be considered for alterations or new intersections be put in or sidewalks or crosswalks. And a lot of that information gets gathered. And if there's, quick fixes to these types of incidents, we certainly will react as quickly as possible, whether it's adding signage or public information out into the public about certain areas. And then obviously when there's major infrastructure alterations that are needed, those are brought forth to council at our annual budget process, and then resources are allocated accordingly.
And are there particular corners that you might have your eye on right now, JP?
I think through the budget process, there was a fairly strong push to have the intersection of Pope Road and Greenwood Drive have flashing signals there, so we'll be doing that. And as the city continues to grow and more traffic is on the streets, it's certainly becoming more and more of a discussion around the council chambers at budget time. But this year, Pope and Greenwood was sort of a priority item.
And I know that, you just mentioned it. How much of this is about the way that people commute through Summerside now and your growing population and the number of new Canadians who are choosing to live in Summerside?
Yeah, we're certainly seeing a shift. I don't think it's certainly just here in Summerside, it's across the province that there's an increase in population and thus more people using our streets and our sidewalks. And neighborhoods that didn't exist before now do. So we need to factor all of that into how we move people through our city. The city's made a fairly strong commitment this year and in the past couple of years of adding in bike lanes and new sidewalks. And as we see the pedestrian traffic sort of shift from perhaps maybe in neighborhoods to people trying to access sort of our commercial district on foot, we have to be more cognizant of that. So the city's doing ongoing investments in all of those areas, but it's certainly changing faster than it used to in the past. So it keeps us from getting flat-footed, that's for sure.
That bike lane, as I mentioned to Ken, is second to none, I think, anywhere in Canada right now.
Yeah, I think Greenwood Drive was a great initial project, and it's one that sort of sets the network, the future plans for the network in place. This year, moving to Pope Road is a big one for us. Pope Road was a high priority not only for us, but for Safe Summerside, so we're really pleased to be moving that one along. And we'll continue to make those investments over the next number of years. AT is important. It's also really expensive, so we have to be sort of prepared to make those investments year over year and prioritize where AT fits versus sidewalks and intersections and fire trucks and all these other things that a challenge at budget time. But certainly the way we move people through our city is ever changing and something that we need to stay on top of.
As I look out at the traffic on University Avenue here this morning in Charlottetown and realize just how much of a challenge it would be to put that first, active transportation route along University Avenue, is Summerside in a better position to make these changes? Is your city laid out a little differently that would allow you to put these in place as you did on Greenwood with a little less disruption?
Good question. I'm not sure if we're any better positioned or not. I think what we do have is a scalability sort of opportunity for us in the sense that moving people through Summerside may not be as difficult as it would be in a higher volume metropolitan area. That said, as we continue to see growth around our city, especially in the eastern end of our city, the congestion is becoming more and more of a challenge, and one that we will need to be cognizant of when we start including bike lanes. And that may mean changing the standards. The standards for AT lanes are driven by the volume of traffic nearby roads. So if at one time if we could have gotten away with putting paint and signage in an area for AT. Based on the traffic flows, we may be in a position now where we may be into a full separate lane that's guarded by curbing and so on and so forth. So it is ever changing and something that we need to continue to be prepared for.
JP, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch.
JP DeRosier, the Deputy CAO of the City of Summerside.